Hello and welcome to Coder's Block. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to create your first website from scratch. Before we begin, I recommend downloading Programmer's Notepad, but you can also use the default Notepad editor, or you can download the more popular Notepad++. Here's a comparison of the three. You can choose whichever you prefer, but for this tutorial, I'll be using Programmer's Notepad. To begin, we need to download an Apache server. We'll be using xampp for Windows, but you can also use xampp for whichever operating system you're using. We'll be using the Easy Installer. And for those of you who are wondering what xampp is, it stands for Cross-Platform, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and Perl. Right now we're looking for Apache so that we can turn our computer into a little server. But later down in the road, we'll be using the rest. And what xampp is a bundle of everything you'll need to create your first website. While we wait for this to download, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with something simple. All we're going to do is type in hello world, and we're going to save this as index.html. You can call the file whatever you like, so long as it has a .html extension. Now here's a neat little trick. If you right click, copy file path, and enter it into the URL, we'll get our page. You'll have the same effect if you locate the file, right click, open with Google Chrome. Now as you can see, this web page is fairly simple. All we can really do is type in text, and for that reason we need to be using HTML. All HTML pages start with the HTML tag. HTML tags in general have a beginning tag and an ending tag, also known as a closing tag. The only difference between the two is that the ending tag is a /. The HTML tag specifies to the browser that we'll be using HTML inside these. We have the head tag and the body tag. The head tag is for things that are not actually on the page, for instance the title. My first website. Let's save this and let's test this by reloading the page. As you can see, the title of the page has changed to My First Website. However, that is not actually on the page, therefore it belongs in the head tag. If you want something on the actual page, it belongs in the body tag. For instance, let's try H1, which stands for Heading 1. My First Website. Save and reload. Now on the actual page we have My First Website. Now you'll find that not all tags have a beginning tag and an ending tag. There's one other instance, and I'll be showing you that now. Let's try meta_charset UTF-8, and now this does not have a closing tag. It's what we call a self-closing tag, and that's all you need to do to close it. There aren't many tags like this, however it's good to know which is which. Now let's say we wanted to make our heading red. We need to be using CSS for this, so we're going to be typing style type text as CSS, and just like the HTML tags, the style tag specifies to the browser that we'll be using CSS within here. Now here's the syntax for CSS. We'll be using H1 to target the H1 we have. We'll be using color red. Now as you can see, our heading 1 has changed to red. You can do a lot of things with style. You can change the font type. You can change the font size. You can change the font style. You can even change the font orientation. And there we have it, My First Website. As you can see, the HTML is for the actual structure of the page, whereas CSS is for the style. There's something else called JavaScript. We'll be using script type text to JavaScript. And what JavaScript is, it adds functionality to the page. A simple example is alert my first website. And as you can see, if we reload, we're going to get an alert saying my first website. Another language is PHP, which has this as a beginning tag and that as an ending tag. What PHP does is it contacts and communicates with the server and carries information from inputs such as users, login forms, and email forms, and it carries them to the server, and the server will sort them with the MySQL database. And as you go back here to xampp, we see M for MySQL database and P for PHP, which we need to install on our computers or else they will not work. So speaking of our downloading of our xampp, let's continue our installation. So you're going to see a pop-up screen allowing this to install. We're going to say yes. We're going to choose our language, which is going to be English for us. Okay, we just click OK for this one. Okay, here's the actual setup. We're going to click Next. We're going to be installing it to the C drive. And for this particular case, we're not going to be installing any as a service, which means that they're going to be running at all times when you load your computer. We're going to be creating a Apache Friends xampp folder to the Start menu, and we're going to be creating a desktop. So we're going to go ahead and click Install. Okay, I skipped through the installation, and you should pause the video if you have not finished. But here we finished the completion of the xampp wizard. We're going to click Finish. Congratulations, the installation was successful. Start the xampp controller panel now. We're going to click Yes. And here we have what language we want. We want English, so we're going to click OK. And here's the xampp control panel. We're going to go ahead and click Start for Apache. We should get a permission notice soon, or not. So you're probably wondering, what is an Apache server? And if we go back here, we go to our C drive, xampp, htdocs, and here we have a bunch of files. I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of them. Now let's go to another Windows Explorer. Let's find the file that we created, which I called index.html. I'm going to move it over to htdocs. And now let's open this. Let's open this in a new browser. And as you can see, we have this long line, file, :// Instead of all of that, now that you have an Apache server, it works kind of like a website. All you have to do is type in localhost / index.html, and here's the website you created. One important thing, and the reason why I call the file index.html, is because index has a special meaning on a server. If I just take off index.html and go to the folder, it'll go to my first website. And the reason being is because index defines or represents the folder it's in. So if we create a new folder called foods, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this, I'm going to edit this folder to say the title will be foods. And now we're going to go to localhost and just go to the folder which has index representing it. And now we have foods. And we don't have that index.html. A lot of websites believe that this is a lot more simpler than having an index.html. It looks a lot cleaner. Another trick is that if we go back to our xampp htdocs, right click, create shortcut, and we drag the folder over to favorites, we now have a shortcut to htdocs. That's all for this video. In the next tutorial sessions, I'll be going over HTML and CSS and helping you create a more elaborate website. Don't forget to like and subscribe.